Yeah.
Welcome back to Riding with Witches, as I tried to do an intro. I am Leona Urbansky. This is my co-host.
I am Nicole Autumn.
Also, fun fact, we just found out that our initials make up the word Luna. So
Yeah,
we
that
have
is
fun
pretty sick.
giggling.
Yeah.
So welcome back to the Riding with Witches podcast. We are both authors and we are both witches, and we are combining those two practices into this podcast to just kind of tell you how we write and how we practice and give you some ideas and just kind of start that conversation so that people can know, hey, there are actually real witches out there that are authors.
Yep. Sounds about
So,
right. Um,
this
so
episode,
oh,
you
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna say that this is our do's and don't episode and what we've learned, and that we will start with book news. Do you have any book news?
I have tiny bit, nothing groundbreaking. I have started the official rewrite, so I'm already up to 6 pages, and it's only chapter one. And I'm not talking I'm talking full length Word document pages.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty happy with that. It's getting on a roll.
Yeah. And I don't have any book news because I'm not writing at the moment. I am letting my book marinade right now. So I have been
Which we'll talk
reading.
about later.
Yeah. I'm actually reading someone else's book that they sent me, and I'm just kind of giving them feedback on what I think. So that's
You're
what
being
I'm
a
doing.
beta reader.
Yep. Beta reader. Yeah.
So, little piece of combined news that isn't necessarily book news, but it is specific to this podcast, is Nicole and I have been working on making up short stories for you all. And we are going to be working on posting those on a fairly regular basis. I'm not going to give you an exact time frame right now because we are still sorting out the details, but one short story is completed. It's getting some edits in it. Um, and then we'll let you know when that is able to come up. I'm hoping next week I'll be able to get that one up, and we'll just kind of go from there. I'm looking forward to introducing you all to Nyx and Ambrose.
Yeah.
They're a fun pair.
So I guess I'm a little bit of a fibber because I am going to be working on that tomorrow in my short story. Because I was sitting here and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not writing. And then you mentioned the short story. I was like, oh shit, that's right.
You're not writing
I
a
am supposed to be
book, right?
writing that. So I will be working on that tomorrow. And hopefully I can get at least the rough draft done and send it your way so you can look it over.
And we actually kind of directly are tying this into a part of our brainstorming episode because those story prompts that we were telling you all about, we used them.
Yeah, yes, we
So
did.
you can see how well they work.
Yep. And it's just a little spark of inspiration that we just sat there and we're like, you know what? This is actually a good idea. We should try this. And we both came to the conclusion that this would be actually good for us to give you guys an idea of our writing styles and what how we write and stuff like that and share it with you guys. So you're not having to go and buy our books without you really knowing if you're going to like what we write or not.
Yep. These are going to be shorter stories, probably only like one or two, we'll say, Word document pages. And we are talking about later on, depending on how many we write and how long these are, maybe collecting them into an anthology at a later date so you can actually get more flesh on its bones
Yeah.
of the stories that are so they're more than snippets. But this is going to give you a good idea of how we write, our writing styles, and I'm looking forward to this collaboration very much.
Yes. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
So as the only book news that I have.
Yeah. And I believe that was it for me.
And that was it.
Yep.
Our collab book
That
news.
be it.
So
So that would bring us into our do's and don'ts. And the first one would be, all of these are going to be topics that we have learned from experience. Some of them more so one of the other of us, but the first one would be keeping track of how long things take. And I know we've talked about this before, like knowing how long something takes can dictate your planning and your brainstorming, but timing things out is really important, and how long does it take to write a draft? For me, it could be anywhere from, I mean, Nano, I got one out in a whole month, which is nuts. Or it takes me 2 years, like this last one, and it takes a while. So knowing how long things take, that is something you do need to learn eventually.
Yeah, it's a process, and I mean, you're we're not saying you have to have this like down today.
No.
It's like you take 30 days to write a first draft, but give yourself that. And even if you don't know, you've never written a first draft before, set a goal for yourself. Like realistically look at how much time you are going to be able to devote to it, and how many words you think it's going to be out. We talked about this in the planning episode of like what genre you're writing in. You can kind of Google and they'll usually give you like a general like word count for that genre novel. And then you're like, okay, give yourself a couple of days. How many words did you write in an hour or two? And you can kind of plan ahead accordingly like that, because everyone has different schedules, different lives, different priorities. Maybe you live by yourself with your cat and you just want to devote your day to writing. I love that for you.
Yeah, that
You are going
sounds
to finish
great.
your first draft a lot faster than I will.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Or you have 3 kids, some pets, and full-time job on top of doing a podcast.
Yep. And that takes a lot longer. But
So,
along
yeah,
with
just having that general plan.
yeah, and I think even just setting a generous time frame, like being able to say, okay, I'm going to finish my first draft in 6-7 months. Like that's a very good place to start, I would say. Like to be able to say just the first draft, right? Because some people it does take longer than others. Writing block happens, and being able to just have that time frame, or like you say, set a goal, it also allows you to have some cushion if things do fall through the cracks or whatever, or things come up. But as well as writing, you also have to account for revisions and the process of publishing. And you really won't know this until you do it, but giving yourself, more than you think you'll need is always better than undercutting yourself.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. So if you think, oh, I can probably write a book in 2 months, if you can, kudos. Like, good for you. That's amazing. Probably going to take longer. If you're going to write, edit, revisions, publishing yourself, like, me personally, I think anywhere from 8 months to 12 months would be, and it's still kind of short in my opinion, if you want to put out good work. But if you're doing traditionally published, once you get the book written, and you're at the hands of an agent and a publisher, that changes, and it's a whole other ball game.
So it is a whole other ballgame. But I will also say, before you get an agent, if you are going down the traditionally published route, you need to take into account your queries, because you have to write a query letter. You have to write a summary. You have to write a one-page summary. You have to write a chapter by chapter summary. You have to research these agents to find out who is in the field that you're publishing in the genre you're publishing in. You're going to have to individually tailor your letter to these agents if you want to get a good reply. You are going to, so it's a different sort of timeline, but between you finishing your revisions and you feel it's ready to be published to actually getting a contract, there is still time. And unfortunately, that isn't something that you can put a goal on. Yeah, you can't put a goal on that, but you can tell yourself, okay, I'm going to try and query 5 agents a week. And honestly, for someone with my schedule, who I am the example I gave you a minute ago, that was generous. That wasn't generous. That was the opposite of generous, actually, because I was trying to look up these agents, trying to find their requirements, because every agent is different on what they want from you. Trying to look them up on all of their social media and tailor those letters to them. So yeah, it's not any, neither process is harder or easier than the other. It's just different things and different times. So that is something to definitely, and like you said, if you get a contract, that timeline is really up to your publisher, not you.
Yeah.
But you need to take into account that if you don't already have a agent, that you're going to have to find one. And you're going to have to find one that will take your work.
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously.
That takes a lot of time.
Never mind. I will just go publish it myself like I did.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes that's all you can do. If you can't get an agent to get published and you want your work out there, the next best step is, okay, well, no one's willing to take me. I'll just do it myself. I mean, but then you are putting in more individual work for yourself. So,
yes, entirely.
There's two routes, and there's definitely time frames for both to be aware of.
Neither one is an easy road.
Yeah.
Different
both
obstacles.
Are hard.
It's difficult.
Yeah. So that would bring us to our next one, which is do let your manuscript marinate. Because if you try to jump right into edits after, you are going to miss more than if you came back to it with fresh eyes. It's almost best to just forget what you wrote, to be honest.
It's like you get to read a whole new book when you come back to it.
Yeah, because I know if you were to ask me what happens in the beginning of my book, I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. So, but setting it aside, it's easier to find plot holes and to find the little mistakes as if instead of jumping straight into it. You may gloss over things. A good example is when I was editing one of my books, I did not let it marinate and I jumped right into it. And the amount of times I had read over, what was it? It was supposed to be nibble or something, and it ended up being nipple or giggle or jiggle or I don't know. I messed it up, but I had read it so many times that it didn't even register to me that it was wrong. And I'm pretty sure you actually were the one that pointed out. And you're like, is this supposed to be this word? And I was like, it's spelled right, but no, that's not the word I meant. So
I like, coming at it,
yeah, you're like, I don't think this is what you meant. So coming at it with fresh eyes, you're going to find things easier. The mistakes, you'll find them easier.
Yeah. And one thing I will say, and because I was kind of glancing, I don't think we have it when you come back to that first draft, when you are ready to go back and do revisions, to help you see it with those fresh eyes. And this is a tip that I actually got off on Instagram. Put it into a different font.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Put it into a different font because that's going to force your eyes to actually read it versus just being, oh, I know what this says.
Yeah.
Putting it into a different font and or both if you have the time, reading it out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's a hard one.
as much as awkward as it could be, I definitely agree with this because it's easier, especially when it comes to dialogue. Reading it out loud will let you hear if it sounds natural, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because reading it on paper, your brain's going to overcompensate for, contractions of words and stuff like that. And naturally, your brain's going to just read it as what you meant. But when you read it out loud, how you wrote it, you're like, ooh, that may not sound right. That sounds a little awkward. Or this isn't conveying exactly what I want. So reading it out loud lets you hear it to see if it flows well, if it flows naturally, and easier to find those little mistakes.
Yeah, putting it in a different font and reading it out loud, it's going to be a whole new experience for you. Doing both of those things at the same time because your brain is going to be like, I don't know what this says. I have to actually read it instead of just assuming I know what it says. We get to trick our brains that way.
Yeah. Let's see. So I believe the next one would be don't expect your first draft to be perfect. Expect it to be hot garbage. That's the best way to put it. Huh?
It is the dumpster fire.
It is. It is the dumpster fire on wheels. Because it is coming out of your brain as fast as you can type it. And sometimes you will write things and you'll go back and you're like, oh, Lord. What did I mean there? I don't know.
Yeah, that is why we also say to let it marinate because don't go back into revisions. Don't go back and reread it right away because you are going to be really, really self-critical on yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be like, I can do better than that. Yeah, you can. That's why you wrote the first thing originally so that you can rewrite it with your revisions. So a lot of what I hear from people, from editors, is a first draft's purpose is to exist.
Yes.
It's there to be there.
Yeah.
It tells you the story so that you can tell it better once you do the revisions.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And it's the thing of the first draft is no one's first draft is going to be, a star masterpiece. It's going to have issues. You're going to find plot holes. You're going to find things that you wrote that you were expecting to write on. And then 4, 5, 6, 7 chapters later, you're like, whatever happened to that storyline? You literally lost the plot. So the whole point is to just go through and really just fine tune the details, make it the way you actually want it to be. So that first draft is always going to be rough. Dang. Okay. Well, I don't know what I was going with that. Just the first drafts are dumpster fires.
First drafts are dumpster fires. We have both read each other's first drafts. I know I just sent the first draft of that short story over to Nicole and she was like, wait, why would he do that? And I'm like, good question. I will try and answer that.
You're like, let me think on that.
And then I was rereading it to try and start thinking about editing. And the guy pulled up his hood, and then like 2 seconds later, through his hair. And I'm like,
and it's funny because I caught that and I was like, I don't think she realized she did that, where he pulls the hood up and then runs his hands through his hair. And I was like, I know she's gonna catch that. I'll leave that because I know she'll catch it. But yeah, and Leona's read my first drafts, and I know the grammar probably drives her absolutely bananas because I am really bad at grammar. And I think I mentioned this before. The first time she read my books, it was, you need a comma here, comma here, comma here, and like just commas everywhere. And now it's almost like she hammered it into my brain, and I'm putting commas in unnecessary places now. And I'm like,
You'll
I
find
can't
the happy
win.
space eventually.
I'm like, I just can't win. I can't win with the commas. They're everywhere or nowhere to be seen. So
To be fair, and I'm gonna diverge a little bit because I'm a linguist. To be fair, the evolution of the comma in modern day literature has been changing a lot. So it's really not your fault because you were handing it to someone who is a classically trained English major
mm-hmm.
and with the master's in literature. So I'm going to be adhering to those stricter grammar rules, which
Yeah.
is not always what is needing to happen with your books. Because any books, because to me a novel, it's not just the words, it's the tone that it's setting, and how you set the tone is how my favorite thing is I know the rules so I know when to break them.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do sometimes. Like you need to break those rules to get that tone to make it real.
Yeah.
So it's not just a strict, we don't talk informal English, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you might bust it out. Some
When
Shakespearean
I am
English.
very when I am very angry, I will do, because I am running it through my head before I say it, and it will be grammatically correct.
Yeah. You're like, if it sounds like that could have been an essay, she's pissed.
There you go. I will break out the full formal salutation. I actually did have this covered. I used to run in an online role play group for a series of books, and I was talking to someone, and we always just called them by the initials of their username, and I was so pissed, and I was like, "All right, so and like spelled out their full name."
Oh, you pulled like the way you know when your mom is mad and she pulls out the middle name and you're like, oh no. If it's like the full name plus the last name, you're screwed.
We have moved past that. We have acknowledged that I was basically just being a bitch, and forgiven each other for that instance. But yeah, it was pretty bad. That's when you know I'm mad. Anyway, diverging back to what I'm supposed to be talking about with first drafts.
Yeah. Which would lead us into also, because of first drafts, and this happens a lot, um, don't compare yourself to other authors. Where they're at in their writing and publishing path is not going to be the same as you. And you never really know what someone is working with behind the scenes. Do they have editors that they work with? Do they have someone, that they're relying on, or just even their day to day? So someone who may take, 6 months to publish a book, like, again, kudos, that's fast. There are other people that just don't have that time frame. They work full time, they have kids, you know, families, stuff is going on. So comparing yourself to other authors is going to get you down, especially if you see them pumping out books. And as we've seen, again, on our AI soapbox, some of them have used AI and have been called out for it. So I'm just saying. I'm not going to say names because I don't really remember the names because I don't read them anyways. Yeah, you can Google it and I'm sure you'll find it. So you never know. Someone could be cutting corners. So comparing yourself, not the best idea.
Yeah, and I mean that. Yeah, to be fair, I would say that on any aspect of life, it's kind of like if you're a mother, don't compare yourself to other mothers because each child is unique. Every book you write is unique. You're never going to, unless you're literally copy pasting from someone else's book, y'all are never going to be writing the same book. It's all gonna have different challenges, be it plot, grammar, character, whatever. It's never gonna be the exact same book unless you're just straight up plagiarizing. So, and then you shouldn't be having any trouble writing a book at all because you're not really writing a book.
Fair. But also, like, just what drives people. Some people, it's just a hobby. You know, they do it just for fun. Or there are some people that are trying to make this a career, right? So they can quit their day job, so they can work towards that goal of being an author that makes enough money to support themselves or their families. So that drive also can depend on how fast someone does something, or so there's just a lot to account for, and comparing is not a good route to
It's
just,
not beneficial for anyone.
yeah, I was trying to think of the words and it was just not coming.
Was
It
that the
was,
right one?
yes. um yeah. So next would be, if you're traditionally publishing, and I feel like you could talk on this one. Um, don't get discouraged by the rejection letters that you get.
I feel like I'm not the best example since I
I
did
mean,
get this word now and I'm doing it in I will give myself this. It took me what, a year
yeah.
before I gave in. I did steady queries for 4 to 5, maybe 6 months. And I did my best to keep the mindset of every no is a step towards a yes. And it's the
Yeah.
same kind of mindset you have when you're hunting for a new job. Every rejection is a step towards a yes. And I just did not have the fortitude to wait for that yes,
And that's
unfortunately.
fair. Yeah.
And but at the same time, you also have to remember agents. I literally wrote this down on the outline, so I'm just going to say it. Your writing isn't for every agent, and it's not for every reader, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There is someone out there that is going to like your books. It might just be your family. I don't know. I don't know your book, but
Yeah.
there's
You're like, I don't know.
um it's I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to keep that mindset, and obviously I wasn't able to keep it. I've also had a lot of other stuff going on in my life that I'm sure influenced that particular aspect of it. But if you really want to go down the traditional publishing route and you have that fortitude and that you're able to keep going and keep researching and keep resubmitting and keep rewriting your book as often as it takes to get an agent, do it.
Yeah.
It might take a while. I know people. My favorite example was Stephen King when he was trying to publish his first book. He had one of those big long spikes that you used to like have receipts put on when we still
Mm.
had actual.
Receipts.
I can't even think of the name. Cash registers.
Yes.
And he just had that attached to the wall, and because at that time it was still, you were snail mailing in the manuscripts, every rejection letter he would just throw it onto the spike. And someone
Yeah.
has said, well, what happens when you run out of room? He's like, I get a bigger spike.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
So
fair. You have to think, even if you don't get picked up yet, right? Someone else could be overshadowing, or another book caught their attention, and it doesn't mean that yours isn't good enough. It just might not be the right time, right? Yours
mhm.
may not be the one that grabbed their attention because someone else's did. And they can only take so many authors at once, so many books at once. And, depending on your genre, there's only so many agents, right? Especially, and then you narrow that down to what they're looking for, and that narrows it down even more. So you're one of thousands that they see. So even though it can be discouraging to get those rejection letters, if you keep going, like Leona said, and you have the perseverance and the fortitude to keep going, you could get that agent and they could get you published. It's just a matter of timing. And I feel like luck does have a lot to do with it too, is like I said, just being lucky enough to be that person that yours stands out among the sea of many, right? They're dealing with so many options that it's hard to narrow down. Like, I don't know how, if I would be able to narrow down the options if I was an agent. Oh my God. I feel like that would be so hard, you know?
It's
So,
also related to what you were saying about Drive earlier too. It's like, well, are you someone that wrote it and it's a hobby for you and you don't feel that insane pressure to get it out there, so you're like, okay, I can continue to take the time. Okay,
yeah.
I can continue to take the time. And then there's sometimes you get people like me that are like, I've had this story sitting in my head since 2003. I want to get it out there and I'm
Yeah.
tired of waiting. So I'm not going to wait anymore.
And that's fair. I mean, valid point. So, overall, if you decide to go traditionally published, try not to let it get you down. It's not personal, I would say. At the end of the day, it's not personal. Don't take it personally. So,
Yeah, agreed.
yeah. Which would bring us to our witchy tip, which also has to do with writing. um, which is Book of Shadows, or some people call them grimoires, or some just call them journals. And they just jot down their notes. Um, do you keep one? Should you keep one? Why it's helpful? To write down the spells you do, the results, the rituals, dreams. If you do divination, your readings, you can look back on that. I have a lot right here trying to figure out all of those are journals for witchy stuff and folders and binders. So I have ones for dreams. I have ones for tarot readings. Because let me tell you, the amount of times I've had tarot readings that I've gone back and looked at, and I'm like, at the time, I'm like, oh, I don't, whatever. Like, I don't know what they're trying to tell me. I go back and I'm like, oh, now I know. I wrote it down and now I see what they meant. So it is a good idea to have one and to use it.
One thing I will mention, and this is something that I feel sometimes about this and why it took a long time for me to really get into the mindset of using a grimoire, is I didn't want to to put myself into my own echo chamber. I wanted to make
Mm-hmm.
sure I was always open to all of that information that is available for me to utilize. But at the same time, in today's internet information age, it's such an overload. So
Mm-hmm.
letting yourself go out, pick what is going to apply. Don't ignore, like read through it, but be like, okay, this is specifically what's applying to this aspect of what I'm doing. It's kind of like when you do a reading, not every meaning of the card is going to apply to that reading. It's all within
Yeah.
that situation and with it that. But let yourself, and it's also for to help you remember. Like, you're not going to
Yeah.
remember every website you go to find the candle correspondence you were thinking. Just write it down.
Yeah. I would also say, too, is like you said, because we live in the information age, right? Everything, a quick Google search could give you multiple resources. Cross referencing is helpful because you will have people that will come in and spout some crazy stuff. So don't take everything as a grain of salt, right? Cross reference, whether that's books, different websites, your own intuition, what it's telling you, if it's lining up. Like if you look at the correspondences for lavender, right, and you have like, oh, it's good for dreams, or prophetic dreams, that's what I was going for, or calming and clarity, but then you have something out here out of nowhere that's like, it's good for hexing. You're like, wait a minute, well hold on, time out. you know Having the discernment to cross reference and know that will be helpful, and then writing that down so these are what you trust, and have that in your grimoire or your book of shadows, whatever you want to call it. That is what that is used for, because the cross referencing can get to be overloading 100%. So
Yeah.
being able to finally decide, okay, well, this is what I think this best works for. I'm going to write it down so I can go to my own and know that this is what I use it for.
Yeah, agreed entirely.
Yeah.
So it
So
is
yeah.
very helpful to have one. I would highly suggest putting in the effort. I know I've recently been filling mine up with the oracle readings that I've been doing. They're taking like 4 to 5 pages on me.
Oh, I feel
So
that. Yep. I have tarot readings that are literally like, I do like a 3-card pull, or I do, like the shuffle, and next thing you know, like 12 cards spill out. And I was like, oh no, what now? And then you're sitting there and you're writing it down. You're like, okay, like next thing you know, you have 2 pages full and you're like, this was supposed to be a quick 3-card reading for the day. Like, what the hell, man? Like, what's going on? So yes, it is helpful to be able to write that down so you can reference it. But also I know this is another issue along the witchy community, is you buy these pretty journals, these pretty books, and then you never write in them because you're afraid to mess them up. Just write in them. Just do it. Just do it. Do it. Because at the end of the day, it's yours. If you mess up, whiteout exists. Like, you can find ways to fix it. Yeah. Start with pencil, trace it out and then go back with pen or your felt tip markers or whatever and fill it in. But use the beautiful journal that you bought. Give it its purpose, its meaning in life.
Yeah. Agreed. It's
uh-huh.
I was just saying agreed entirely. That is definitely a, yes, they're gorgeous, they're pretty, they're meant, no one's ever going to look at the inside besides you anyway, so don't worry about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, unless you're planning on, if you have kids and you plan to pass it down and they're into it, like, and even then, I still have grandma's recipe cards that still have like things scribbled out and rewritten over it. Like, they're not going to think anything of it. If anything, you're like, oh, she changed it. Why? What's different? Like, it'll be fine. Write in the beautiful journals. So next would be on our do's and don'ts list, do your research. And I'm sure we'll harp on this a lot.
Can I jump down this rabbit hole real quick?
Yes, go for it.
So I specifically put this in there, and I think I've harped on this podcast before about do the research, because so if you haven't seen that podcast, you're going to hear it again anyway. Or if you have seen it, you're going to hear it again anyway. What you find on your research could affect other parts of your story. Don't just take the top summary or the top AI answer when you're Googling something. Actually go to those websites, look at what you're researching, because what you find may affect the whole story. And you don't even realize it. And someone might come along later and be like, this makes no sense. And if you had done the research, you would have known that.
Yeah.
So bother doing the research so that you can try. And I mean, I know I'm probably the silliest person to hear this since I write freaking high fantasy. But I do try to make things real. I just went and rewrote a fight scene because, trigger warning, it's been a little graphic for a second if you want to skip forward for a second. The original fight scene had someone getting stabbed in the back and the knife coming up and out through their heart. And the more I thought about it, I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense, because you would have had to stab specifically between the ribs to get to the heart to have it come out the right way. So I was like, so it would have made a lot more sense to like stab them in their side or down in the lower back, which would, yes, kill them. It's just going to take another minute or two, which means the person that was stabbing them, the guy they were trying to kill, stayed alive long enough to kill that person. So someone else had to kill the guy that was trying to. So
everyone's dying.
Everyone dies in the end, but it's not a book. They both die at the end. So it's doing that research, and I'm not talking about just Google research. I think I've said this before. I specifically went into martial arts so I could learn how to fight and learn how to write these fight scenes accurately. I've ridden horses for over 20 years, so I know I can write horses accurately, but I don't know how to skin a deer. I don't know how to fire a rifle. I don't know how to take care of a rifle. I go and I Google it, and I don't just take the first summary that Google hands me. I read the website, I watch the videos, because something that, like with the rifles, it was like, okay, if you are going to have a rifle in your story, this is why it's called a rifle. Can your blacksmith's technology do that? And do you have the technology of black powder? And it's like, I had to rework a whole section of the society to make that work.
Yeah.
And if I had just taken it for that first summary, I would have had lots of gun enthusiasts coming at me.
They're like, hey, this is wrong. This is so
Yeah,
wrong.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's my soapbox.
I mean, that was kind of like I said with the research for, the vampire I wanted with Renaissance Italy. Like, I couldn't just pick a modern day name and expect it to fly. Like, she's from freaking 1500s. Like, that's, so that research needs to be done. I think we've both talked about the research aspect on this, but yes, do the research.
And it's coming right off what we were talking about with the information age. There's no reason to not do it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have internet at home, you probably have access to a library. 99% of the libraries that I know of these days have public computers with internet, so you can go and do the research. If you feel the need to actually get the books, so many of our libraries are on the WorldCat system, so you can do interlibrary loans.
Mm-hmm.
You have that access. Take advantage of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're doing due diligence to the subject that you're writing, and that's going to tell readers that you respect what you're writing.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. There are books out there for everything. I mean, even I know this book came up as a I can't exactly remember the name of it, but it is literally a book specifically for authors, and it talks about how to write violence in books accurately. And someone actually suggested this book to me because, trigger warning and a little bit of a spoiler, in my books there are torture scenes, and in order to accurately portray that, I wanted to know, okay, like, well, what would happen if this happens, or would someone die if this happens, or I don't want to get too graphic because it's it's graphic.
It's graphic.
So if you have a weak stomach, I don't suggest it. But there are books for everything. I never in a million years would have thought there was a book written for authors specifically on how to write violence in books accurately. So you would be surprised. There are resources for pretty much everything, unless you're looking into stuff that, like, you really shouldn't be. I couldn't figure out if IEDs are pre-made or not. I guess that's proprietary information I couldn't find. They're like, we're not telling you that, you psycho. Like, what is going on?
It's one last thing on this before I know we need to move on from it. But if you can't find a book or an article or a website that is going to answer the specific question you have, I guarantee you there's some professor or major out there that is going to know your answer. And there's a lot of these people that if you email them and you're like, hey, I'm trying to find the answer to this, and if you are honest, you're like, I can't, I've looked and I've checked here, I've checked there. Is there any references that you could point me to so that I can get a correct answer, they're probably going to email you back. Be like, oh, hey, yeah, it'd be this, this, or this. I know my martial arts instructors had people literally come down and interview them for how to write violence accurately. I know I poke my biologist friend occasionally and be like, hey, 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 if they were poked here, how much does it bleed?
Of all questions, when you said biology, I'm like, oh, okay. And you're like, if I poke them, how bad are they going to bleed?
Like, where on their face should I have this poke be to make it have a nice trail of blood happen?
Research does wonders. Oh my gosh.
These people love their subjects, and
Yeah.
most of the time, they're gonna love to info dump on you as much as you let them.
Yeah.
So be
I mean,
appreciative of that. Don't take
yeah.
advantage of it too often, because then they just be like, you're not even trying. But if you can
Yeah.
be like, hey, I've tried all these other routes and I can't find an answer, it's an option. It might
Yeah.
answer you.
I mean, you have to think professors are basically like the biggest nerds in their subject. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that with so much love. And
We love that for it, yes.
there are probably a lot of people in their lives that never ask them about this, and this is something that they literally spend their whole lives on researching. So having that person that shows the interest in like, hey, I need help on this. Could you spare a minute, of your time? I'm sure they would be more than happy to be like, oh my gosh, finally. Finally someone who
Curious,
wants to
5
listen to
pages.
me. Yes.
Here's my
Would
thesis.
here you go. Read it. um so next on our list would be don't be afraid of constructive criticism. Um your work is precious to you. Everyone puts their heart and soul into their work, but you're biased because it's yours, because you love it so much you don't feel like there's anything wrong with it. It can't get any better. It can. um
There's your
so
constructive criticism right there.
yes, it can get better. And I would also say to that effect, don't get defensive. This is not someone who is trying to personally attack you. But if you ask for someone's advice, or you're asking for them to spend their time reading it, and they say, hey, this doesn't quite make sense, or hey, this would work better, you may want to listen, right? You don't have to take everyone's criticism, because at the end of the day, it is your book. But don't get defensive about because I've seen, people get real standoffish and they're like, oh, well, that's not what I wanted. It's like, but that's literally what you asked for. So, yeah, don't get
That
defensive.
said, we are humans and we have
Yes.
emotions. The great thing about the internet is you can take a step back. If they tell
Mm-hmm.
you something and you are just knee jerk, like, oh, so angry about it, you
Yeah.
have that time to step back. Oh, just breathe. It's not personal. You literally ask for their feedback
Mm-hmm.
before you answer them.
Yeah.
So this is not someone in your face confronting you about it. This is someone on the internet, probably,
Yeah.
that you can take that step back. So,
And I feel like this next one kind of also goes hand in hand with it, is to act professionally. Because if you are in this as a career, it is still a career. You are interacting with potentially peers or your readers. If you're working with authors, editors, those are your colleagues, essentially. They are your peers and they still should be respected. So being professional will go a long way in future projects, future efforts. If you know, see these authors behaving badly, we've seen it time and time again, of authors getting canceled for bad behavior, or going off on readers or editors, or whatever the case may be. It's a good way to blacklist yourself. No one's going to want to work with the difficult author, you know? So being professional in terms of, if you're getting criticism, if you decide you didn't like anything they had to say, then you say, you know what? Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And that's it. You know, every career has a decorum that you should follow. Being an author is no different, even though this has been made so easily and readily available for people to do by just publishing through Amazon or Barnes and Noble. There is still some form of professionalism that is tied to it. And there is a difference between being casual and being unprofessional too. Because I mean, I'm not the most like businessy person. I'm casual, but I also know that there is a mutual respect.
Yeah. And on the constructive criticism, there's a difference between constructive criticism and just criticism.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always try to remember when I'm beta reading or proofreading for somebody is I'm like, okay, I'm not just going to say this is a bad line. I'm going to be like, hey, this doesn't make sense because.
Yeah.
I may not go so far as to offer other options depending on the person who I am reading it for, but I could be like, hey, this is why it doesn't make sense to me. And also, if you are the person that is giving the criticism, make sure you're giving positive feedback too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very rarely a book that you're going to read that someone's put a lot of time and effort into that you're not going to find anything positive to say about it.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
And that to me also that's kind of tied to being professional. You have to remember you're dealing with human beings too. They have emotions. If you're just constantly beating down on them, then you're just going to be looked at as someone's hard to work with.
Yep. And that is not a good road to go down. Is that it we want to say on that one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so the next would be don't get angry at yourself for missing deadlines.
Even if they're the ones you set yourself.
Yes. I have missed them. That was like this book. When I opened up the document, it gives me an option to set like a start and finish date. I said I was going to have this book finished by December of last year. Like published, finished. And I'm like, oh, I just finished the rough draft 6 months after that date. So give yourself a little grace when it comes to deadlines. Yes, it's always great to have a goal and try and stick with it. But if things don't work out, it happens. Life happens. It's always nice to have a deadline and push for it if you can, but don't let it stress you out to where, because I've seen people where they're like, I was so stressed. I wasn't eating. I was losing my hair. I was losing sleep over it. It's like, pull back, man. It's okay. Like, it's not that serious.
Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Keep yourself accountable. And if you need to have someone else that you're talking to help hold yourself accountable, do that. But yeah, don't it's not worth your peace.
Yeah. That's fair.
That ties right into the next point, I think.
Yeah. Don't forget to take breaks. Self-care is needed.
Burnout.
Huh?
Miss Burnout.
Yeah. Don't burn yourself out. Because I know I have a tendency to do that, where I will write, and then for 3-4 months, and then I don't pick up anything for months at a time because I pushed myself to finish something, and then I'm like, well, now I don't feel like writing anything at all. So I burn myself out, which is never a good thing, which is why I did the whole month of writing so I could finish this book, but I paced myself. I gave myself like a good word count that I had in mind that I wanted to reach. Even though I didn't reach it, it's not the end of the world. It's okay to miss those deadlines or those word counts that we set for ourselves. So yeah. And giving yourself time to reset, having that downtime. And I know there is one of the things I hear authors say all the time, or editors or writers writing every day. You don't need to write every day. That, to me, writing every day would cause burnout. 100%. I couldn't do it.
I know one editor that I've come across recently on Instagram is like, write every day, write a sentence. But then she also gave the addendum of a sentence can be one word. Maybe it'll turn into 2 words. Maybe it'll turn into 3 words.
Yeah.
Write a word a day, and maybe that will kind of open the floodgates for you. So, but then you aren't coming back and beating yourself up for not doing anything on that day, unless you had already like specifically scheduled that day to be like, I need a rest day kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that it's just it's going to depend on the person. Like I said, for me, I couldn't write every day because I feel like if I sit down to write and I write nothing, or I write just 2 words, 5 words, I feel like that day was not successful. So, and it would almost be better if I just took that day off. So when I feel like writing is when I write, even though I am trying to not burn myself out and then not write for months at a time. But yeah, the writing every day, that seems stressful for me.
Every person is different. Every person has their own, know your own limits, know what is going to make you burn out. And unfortunately, you may have to end up burning yourself out. I'm not saying do that purposefully.
No.
But you may end up finding yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes burnout for you to know your boundaries and where to set them.
Yes. Find your boundaries, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Yeah. Which that brings us to the end of our do's and don'ts for this podcast. You don't want a book review? Oh, did we not? We didn't write it down.
No, we put it in there. I have one.
Okay, if you have a book review, go for it.
So next up is the book review.
Yeah.
So I am going back to Disney Twisted Tales this week. Okay. This is probably going to happen a lot because they come out really frequently thanks to having 6 authors working on them. And this particular one that I'm going to be talking about is actually an adaptation of one of the previously published books into a graphic novel format.
Oh, nice.
I know. This is the second one they've done. The first one they did was The Part of Your World, The Little Mermaid Twisted Tale, into a graphic novel, and that was amazing. If you like graphic novels, it's absolutely worth picking up. Don't like graphic novels, it's absolutely worth picking up.
Just do it. Pick it up.
Just do it. But the second one they chose for a graphic novel adaptation was Straight On Till Morning, and this was the Peter Pan version. Peter Pan Twisted Tale. And the original book, I want to say, was Liz Braswell. I could be wrong. I will try and make sure I have that correct in editing. But the original one, I enjoyed more than I thought I would because it is the Peter Pan, and that's never been a high-ranking movie for me with the Disney. Mm-hmm. But they did a really good job of... So the twist, because it's going to apply to both books, the graphic novel and the actual novel, because the graphic novel is the adaptation. Mm-hmm. The twist is that Peter Pan never came back for his shadow.
Oh.
So Wendy, darling, went to the docks with his shadow and made a bargain with Captain Hook to take her to Neverland for Peter Pan's shadow.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
So you find out later that Tinkerbell did have something to do with it. But what I really enjoyed is they really developed a friendship between Wendy and Tinkerbell that wasn't just about Peter Pan.
Yeah.
It was these actually 2 girls, woman, connecting and becoming friends because they became friends, not because they both loved a boy. kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was really, really fun. The artwork is absolutely beautiful. The adaptation was done by Stephanie Strom, Strohm. I don't remember who the artist was. I'll put all that in editing. And I'm sorry for people that are only listening to this and not watching this. I will try and put that in the description for you.
Yeah.
But it was really cute and it was really fun. The main quandary that I would have with the adaptation of the graphic novel is it unfortunately due to limit and length constraints, it did have to cut down on a lot of the interaction between Wendy and Tinkerbell. There was still a lot, but in order to keep moving forward with the action, you couldn't have those long conversations as they were walking through the woods to their destination. You had to keep moving forward with the action to keep the story going on a graphic novel, because that's just how they work. But it was fun to see a really fun way they made Wendy become really a denizen of Neverland. Is she would keep going some places, and she starts out in this, Victorian England dress, and just the dress gets ripped, and she has to rip it to wrap up a bandage. She has to take the hem out because she has to do something else. So it turns into this almost piratey ensemble just from her travels through Neverland.
That's so cool.
So that was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. Just seeing the visual representation of that was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you were enjoying the Twisted Tales, Straight On Till Morning was definitely worth reading as a novel, and I think it's definitely worth picking up as the graphic novel, and I am looking forward to the next graphic novel adaptation of this series. And I'm looking forward to the next Twisted Tale I'm reading, which is Lion King.
Ooh. I'm sure it has to do with Scar, right?
That would it is Nala having to go on a secret mission with Scar.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. That would be interesting.
I'm seeing enemies to lovers happening already, man. It's I don't know. That's the ending. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. I did not read anything this week because I was busy with video editing.
That's fair.
But Leona got me a birthday gift, so I will be reading this beautiful book. So it's Elven Heartbound by Elizabeth Ashe. This will be what I am diving into because it's in episodes. So I believe this was a serial that was put into book format, which I can get down with because my attention span lately has been about as short as a goldfish is. So I tried reading a thriller and it was just, my brain just was like, okay, no one is loving anybody. There's no smut going on. Toss it out. I do want to read it, but right now my brain just has not had the patience for it. So this would be more my speed right now. The serial like episode thing is, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I was like already like peeking at it and I was like, what's going on? So that's what I will be reading.
Overall plan is for me to get you this, which is the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
There are 7 seasons.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So the overall plan is to get you absorbed, get you hooked, and then I drag you over to Ream with me to keep just reading up on her serial. Elizabeth Ashe is an amazing serial author, and there's a reason I gave Nicole this book.
I had a feeling, because, and this is the thing, she didn't tell me she was getting it. I just had a package sitting on my door, and I was like, what the hell is this? And then I see it's Ingram Spark. I'm like, Ingram Spark? Who's sending me something from Ingram Spark? And then I opened it, and I saw the author name, and I was like, I think I know who sent me this. And then you wrote me on Discord, and I hadn't looked at it, because if you haven't noticed, I'm very red and sunburnt. I went to the beach today, so I didn't see your message until after I had picked up the book and brought it inside and opened it, and I was like, this has got to be from Leona, because who else is sending me this? And then I opened your Discord message and you're like, you should have a late birthday present there. And I'm like, I knew it. But yes, I am definitely looking forward to reading this. It looks very interesting. And the inside artwork is just beautiful. Like, oh my goodness. Stunning.
Yes.
This is what all authors would love to have. Like, that is gorgeous. So, read it along with me if you'd like. Pick it up
And you
yourself.
actually, Elven Heartbound, the first 2 seasons can only be found in book format at this point. It is no longer available on the serial platforms. I'm
Okay.
guessing it's a copyright issue because this series did start out on Kindle Vella, which we all know how
Oh,
Amazon
okay.
is.
Yeah.
So, but it is available in ebook format. And obviously, and if you want a physical book from this, Elizabeth Ash does sell them directly from her website. That is where yours came from. So we were directly
Okay.
supporting an author.
Yes, we love that.
And she has some beautiful, I personally have the collector's hardback edition,
Oh, I'm sure they're
which is
gorgeous.
absolutely beautiful. So yes, I will stop because that is supposed to be your book review. I will shut up.
No, you're totally fine because, like I said, I don't have a book review. So, and I don't know much about this author. Uh, I've only heard from her about her through you. So, that shout out, good for her because like I said, I don't know much. So, definitely check it out if you're interested in it. I mean,
If
this
you like
cover in
broody elf
itself
boys,
is just stunning. So, yeah,
if
go
you
look it
like
up.
broody elf boys and grumpy sunshine relationships, you will love Sarian and Arizona.
Yes. I,
They're
I
delightful.
could, I mean, I haven't, I did do a little read on the first 2 pages, and I got the first gist of it of her being given away to a elf prince, and I'm like, oh, tell me more. So I'm really I'm really looking forward to reading this. So, yes. Thank you for that.
Happy late birthday.
Yep. And now I feel like, oh man, now I got to get you something cuz your
No, you
birthday
don't.
just passed.
It's fine.
We'll see.
Besides, I had to hand you a book cover. That's just my trademark at this point.
Yeah. Well, I would say that brings us to the end of this episode. And you can find us as Writing with Witches. I almost forgot our name. Writing
Hold
with
on.
Witches on Discord, Facebook, TikTok, even though TikTok I think has a shadow ban right now. You can find us there, hopefully. Instagram, Bluesky, and I believe that's it. YouTube. That's it. And then me personally, you can find me on all the aforementioned uh, social media sites as author Nicole Autumn. And I do have my own Discord group that is Autumn's Grove. So, yeah.
And then I was looking at something else. I don't remember if you said Writing with Witches does have its own website. You can stream directly from our
Oh, I did
website if
forget
you
that.
so choose. It's
Yes.
fine. Um, so also that is also where we're going to be publishing transcripts of episodes for you. So if you don't have time to watch or listen and you just want to read, that is going to be available. And we will also be publishing the short stories and any little articles we might be able to write up about witchcraft or writing or something up there. We will let you know. You're welcome to sign up for that. As for me, you're going to be able to find me on Facebook, Instagram, and that's really it right now. That's all I have the energy and effort to post to.
That's fair. It
uh,
takes a lot of work to post to everything.
so you're going to be mainly finding me there. Follow along as I am working on the Fire Magic revisions. I've already got a couple of posts up there. If you pause it, I bet you could read a page.
Yes.
You can also find I do have an author site available, and you're also going to be able to find my book review sites. I publish book reviews weekly on Facebook and on my WordPress site there. I will hopefully be getting some video book reviews back up. Although that just depends on timing, because I've been doing a book review weekly here as well, so I can
Yeah.
only read so much.
I don't know how you're doing it. Oh my gosh. Like, you must read very fast.
I do tend to read quickly. And if you want to reach out to us, if you want to give us episode ideas or input, or have us bring something up, you're welcome to email us at writingwithwitches@gmail.com. So feel free to do that. And then
Do
I
we
think
have a
all
newsletter?
not yet. We're working on it.
Okay. It just crossed my mind because you mentioned something about. No, it's totally fine. But I heard you said something about wanting to keep up with us, and I was like, do we have a newsletter? Because that would be a
That
great
is
place.
where our short stories are coming in.
Yes.
That
okay.
is what is going to be our newsletter once we have some. We don't want to sit there and hand you all a short story and then not hand you anything for 2 months. So
Yes.
we're going to try and build up a little bit of a library. So for right now, I think all that's going to be going on the blog are transcripts for the moment. So, if you don't have time to watch or listen on the podcast, you will be getting, if you sign up for that email, you'll be able to get those transcripts that you can read through when you have time. And when we have a decent collection of short stories for you that make sense and are not just hot dumpster garbage trash first drafts,
Yeah.
we'll be sending those out as well.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. I just was like unsure of the timeline on that one.
Yeah, no, we've both been a little busy.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit, but that's all right.
We're getting into our stride though.
Yes, we're falling in. Things are falling into place now. So, that is it for this episode. And next episode, we will be talking about our book writing arc, and we will be tackling outlining, which I don't do.
You do a little bit.
A little bit. I'll be here more so for, emotional support. Huzzah.
That is her telling me this is your episode.
Just a little. I'm here for moral support. All right.
You're here for
on that episode. I do a little outlining. I will say that. I do a little bit, but nothing crazy. Just a sleep.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's enough of
Yes, we will stop now. We will keep going if we don't. So, we will see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.